Good morning. Welcome back. It's Global Studies 9. Mr. C. I miss you guys. We're listening to Pink Floyd's Fearless in the background. One of my all-time favorite songs. Might be my favorite song ever besides Fire on the Mountain by the Grateful Dead. I think this song just elevates me. I love that guitar riff. Totally worth the listen. Put it on your Spotify. You say the hill's too steep to climb. Today's class, we're going to take a look at our final, right? This is our final subcomponent of the social sciences, right? We've talked about all of these different social sciences that you could major in college, that you could take as a college course. We've covered history, right? The who, the what, the when things happen. We've covered geography, the impact that the physical features of the earth have on humans. We've covered anthropology and culture and all the different subcomponents of culture that an anthropologist looks at. We've covered economics and the study of choices and money, goods, and services of people and the choices that we make about those money, goods, and services given limited resources. We've covered sociology, the interaction between humans, right? Could be as small a group as 2 people, could be as big a group as 7 million people. How do these people interact? A sociologist would be interested in that. And then finally, our previous, sorry, I'm trying to hit the light here. Our previous class was on psychology, which is the study of the human mind and why we behave the way that we behave. Lastly, is that a word, lastly? I think it might be a word. Lastly, let's talk about political science here. Let's start with what we always like to do. We like to do a little base word, root word thinking here. And political science is obviously going to be the science of, or the study of, politics. And this is a greatly misunderstood word, right? The word politics is very misunderstood. When we think of politics, and I think if we were live in class, we would see this. I could probably do a show of hands and say, hey, guys, what's politics? When we think politics, we oftentimes find ourselves thinking about government, right? We think of presidents of the United States, and we think of senators arguing, and we think of the governor, right? And we think of people that are in government. But we learned in our homework that government is actually a fancy word for the organization of people. And politics is not necessarily government. I have politics, right? And I am not a member of the government. I'm not a governor. I'm not a president. What are politics? Politics are the ideas that people have and what makes these ideas powerful enough to become policy. A long definition here. Don't lose me. Right? And if I look at that word politics, I kind of see even root word, base word here, right? Politics is made up of this word policy. So what is a policy, right? A policy is kind of like a law. It's, and what we could start with a simple idea. I might have a simple idea. And what are the things that are going to grow that idea to be powerful enough where my idea actually becomes a policy that an entire group of people are willing to listen to or adhere to, right? That's really the study of politics, is what makes ideas powerful. And what does make ideas powerful? All right, we can just do a little branch off here. We come up with just a couple ideas. If we were in class, I'd go show of hands. What actually makes an idea powerful enough to become a policy? Well, one thing that could make an idea powerful enough is money. I mean, if you have an idea and you spend enough money on spreading that idea. Or if you were to just straight up bribe me, I might kind of follow along with that idea. So money is a very powerful driving force in what makes a simple idea start to become powerful enough to become a policy. Other things that make simple ideas powerful enough to become policy, perhaps intimidation tactics, right? Let's call it, I'm just going to write the word war. That's not really what I mean, but like military force, the threat of force. If you say, here's an idea, and I go, well, I don't like it, and you go, I'm going to chop off your hand if you don't adhere to it, if you don't like my idea, and I really truly believe that you're willing to do that, I might change my mind, right? That idea might become powerful enough to become policy. I think that's fair game, right? So force, I should write force. I wrote war just because I wasn't coming up with the word that I needed in my head at that particular moment. But you can force people into adhering to an idea, and that idea then is powerful enough to really become policy. Money plays a big role. Numbers. We'll stop the list there, right? Numbers of people make ideas powerful. If 5 people have the same idea, well, that might not be powerful enough to become policy. But if 1,000 people have that idea, now that idea's power is growing. And if 1 million people have that idea, or 10 million people have that same idea, now just through sheer numbers, we have the power to make that idea policy. Okay, and this is what a political scientist would sort of study is. So what makes these ideas powerful? You kind of dissect any particular issue and start to look at really what's going on and why this issue is becoming powerful. Some other things that I like about political science, I myself was a political science major in college. Other things that I like about political science, I believe that political scientists really have a true understanding of complex ideas. The world is not white and black. It's not white cowboy hats and black cowboy hats and good and bad. There's the bell. We're going to wrap this up quickly, right? But the world is really made up of a lot of gray areas, right? There's a lot of gray in between the good and the bad. And a political scientist really has the ability to understand these complex ideas and understand the little nuances of gray that fall in all these little spots in between the two extremes. A political scientist takes into consideration bias, right? And maybe somebody's predisposed to feel a certain way about an idea even before it becomes a policy because of other life experiences. A political scientist takes into consideration point of view, which we'll just abbreviate as POV, right? And the different points of view that people have on things, right? A political scientist might say, well, yeah, this group feels strongly in this particular fashion, but let's put on a different pair of shoes here. Let's view this issue through this pair of shoes, and let's see how things shake out that way, right? Maybe that idea is not as powerful if I put a different pair of shoes on and sort of pretend like I'm someone different than I am, and I can start to appreciate why an idea might not be as powerful with one group as it is with another. Let's see, anything else? Just last thing, this idea of a turning point. I think political scientists get really, really attuned to identifying turning points in time, and that's important stuff, right? I think this was a question on your homework the other night, was to identify a turning point during your own lifetime. And when we start to identify these little turning points, we start to see, okay, well, this idea wasn't very powerful. And after this turning point event, the idea started to grow more and more powerful until it eventually became a policy. And almost every policy stems from an idea that probably did not start out as powerful as it became, right? And a political scientist would be able to identify those turning points. All right, thanks for joining me today. Get a little voice crack. I miss you guys. Got my flannel on. It's Flannel Friday.
At least it is when I'm filming this. And I will see you guys on the flip side of all this. I hope to see you soon.